shrink that down a little bit. Sweet. Let's get into it, shall we, peeps? What is going on? Welcome back. Welcome back. What's going on, people? Welcome back. Let's open up some music. Let's get some music in the chat. Why is it? What the hell? Look at that. What the hell? Okay, hold on. Let me. Whoa, what? Okay. Okay, why are you freaking out like this? Okay, you go back to where. That was weird. All my tabs just went. All of them. All of my tabs just closed themselves. That was weird. Anyways, are we live still? I think we're live. We look live. We look good. Look good. It's looking good. Looking like it's coming through cleanly. All right. We'll find that soft, find that lukewarm in the middle spot for the stream. All right, people. Okay, and we're live there. Camera's not muted. Mic's not muted. Okay, let's go. Let's get into this. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. If I'm gonna be honest, if this game stayed the way it stayed at halftime and then throughout, I'm not making this stream. We're not doing this. Well, you know, there's no sports stream today. But with just the way that this game ended, this was probably one of the craziest March Madness games that I've watched. And I could see people talk about this one for a while just because of what happened. At one point, earlier in the tournament, VCU was down by 19. They kept fighting at it. They chipped away at the Tar Heels lead, and they ended up winning it late on some, you know, late game dramatics and a game-winning shot. No difference here. The script was kind of the same. Of one thing that I was debating, do we do a live stream or do we just do a video? Because the biggest thing of why Uconn was losing was the three ball. So of all, like, the most historic shot probably in Uconn history, that three, dude, that that was only the fifth three-pointer they made. Like, it was bad. At one point they went 1 for 18 from the three, and I think with the terrible shooting, that's why they got down so much. Kind of the same with Alabama and Michigan, because Bama could not sink the three. Yeah, that was such a crazy freaking game. I think the other thing that I kind of think with how this game played itself out, I mean, look at again, Duke led for the majority of the game. At one point they were up by 19. Where did it peak? I think it peaked here-ish, 95%. What about 96, 97, 98%? So it peaked around towards the end of the first half. Because, yeah, they just got ice cold there at the end of the first half. They were shooting horrendous. 1 for 18, like I said at one point. And then just Duke pulled away. And then Duke just... Because at one point, too, it was also a 9-point game. Because Uconn didn't have a lead in this game, which is the craziest part of the whole thing. Is their lead was when they made it 2-0, and then that went away like 18 seconds later on the next Duke transition play, and then from there Duke led the whole freaking time. Caravan also was cold from the three. His three-pointer was huge there at the very end of the game. But just, it was one of those things where Uconn just kept chipping away at it. I think Duke's scoring drought, I think that was a big key reason on how Uconn got back into this game. Not going to shy away from that because that is very real. They went 3 minutes without scoring a bucket. So you kind of got to talk about that and show a little light on that, because that's one thing that happened. What else was big in this game? I think the 16-3 run. There was roughly, yes, around here with under the 5-minute mark. when UConn cut it to, because it was when UConn cut it under 10. And then Duke would extend the lead a little bit, making it back to an 11-point lead, a 12-point lead. And then UConn just kept cutting into it. And then around right here, when they cut it down to a 65-67, Duke then got some quick buckets to make it 70-65, and then they extended the lead again. But then, I mean, we saw how the very last play happened. It was just freaking phenomenal. Let's see if we got any. I don't know if we got any videos. Which this game again, if the game played out kind of like how the Tennessee-Michigan game played out, would not have even, because it was a blowout. Like, UConn was getting blown out. Here we go. Here's the last play, sequence. It was just freaking. Because the other thing that they were talking about too is they were talking about how Boozer didn't need to pass the ball. He could have just held on to it, but because they just trapped him perfectly, which, by the way, he's wide open sitting there. Okay, so if that pass got off, no one's sitting there to stop him. He dunks it. He makes it 70-74. You know, Duke wins, moves on to Final Four. But just the way they were able to collapse and then get the tip drill there, perfect execution, which, by the way, they sold on it too, because look, wide open, two came in and pressed, and then all hell is breaking loose. And then there's Caravan. He didn't like the shot, gave it up to the freshman from the logo. Boom. 73-72 with 0.3 seconds left to go. Absolutely phenomenal. Which the other thing too is it's not pictured here. Maybe it's also somewhere in the no. There were a handful of plays before it got to that. Let's look at the bracket. And then there were 4. Which, again, people who are like, oh, Cinderellas, it's all chalk, it's all 1 seeds. Dude, I'm seeing 2 teams that gutted their way through their bracket. And then I'm seeing, I have seen 2 1s. I'm not gonna lie, but if you've been listening, some of the recent streams, I predicted Michigan Uconn, and that one is still sitting very nice. I'm surprised that Arizona's gotten this far. I'm not gonna lie. I'm also surprised that Illinois has gotten this far, and when UConn was down by as much as they were, I was like, Illinois is going to play Arizona in the final. I could see something like that, or with how I don't know if Izzo's the last head coach to win Big Ten. March Madness. Oh no. The conference is seeking its first NCAA national championship since 2000, and I think Izzo was the 2000 Final Four. Oh my gosh. And Indy also. Is also in Indianapolis. Oh yeah, that looks like Michigan State there. Wisconsin? Michigan State and Wisconsin? Damn. Coach Izzo, back when coaches could wear some drip on the sideline. They need to go back to that. I wouldn't mind seeing that. It'd look cool. Because the other trend too is that people have been doing is if baseball teams, because you know how the manager on the baseball team wears a baseball jersey. It's like, what would it look like if the coaches wore, this is what a coach would look like in full pads. This is what a basketball coach would look like in basketball shorts and a jersey. But my thing, okay, so we have Michigan State and Wisconsin. My thing is, there's parts of me where, when Duke was up huge, with, being since it's been since 2000, since a Big Ten team has won the national championship. The last time a Big Ten team was in the final, 2014. No, 2024. Now that I'm thinking with Purdue, my brain instantly went to that. They're going to have Illinois versus Michigan. It's going to turn into that where it's like, no matter who wins, we'll finally have a Michigan. We'll finally have a Big Ten team that wins it, because I don't know. Or we could, because again, we got a Big Ten team. We got, two Big Ten teams, a Big 12 team, and then a Big East team. It would be funny if, Big Ten has they had the most teams in the Elite Eight and then the Sweet 16, and then out of all of that, it ends up being Arizona against Uconn. I don't know. I think Michigan's more of a complete team, and this game I do think could be very close. And I also find it very funny too. I don't know the timestamp. If I had a timestamp, maybe we could pull up a video. But in one of the streams, actually, in fact, let's do that. Let's sit here for 2 seconds. I talked about there's no way, because I pulled up, because I looked at Illinois, and then this game proves my point even more. Close game, close game, close game, close game. You look at these Illinois games, none of them were close. Like, the leads were huge. And one of the things I kind of talked about a little bit is I said point blank, I don't think Duke could get up past 15. Like, there's no way. I don't see either team building it, because Iowa after taking the lead at one point, then when Illinois switched the game, they were up by 18 points, and I said there's no way. Let me look. Let me skip around here. See if we can find it. This video, this stream has been sitting in copyright claim hell. Because of reasons. Okay, and then we did Super Bowls. Maybe. Hold on. I need headphones here. Let me listen in. Let's listen and trust. Here we go. Okay, let me mute this for 2 seconds. Let's move this over. What the hell? Why is it not working? Huh. So we're at the 3-hour mark. Let's try that. Yeah, because of this. Hold on. Freaking, no. It's a 3 hour and 50 mark. 3 hour and 50 mark. No. It's somewhere down in here. Okay, hold on. Let me listen in. Okay, here we go. Okay, maybe it was a little before that. I still stand by that statement. I still think, yeah, you go look in the 23, no, in the 2024 region final. Uconn went on a 30 to nothing run. Um, yes, it's right here. It's going to be right here. Hold on. Yeah, 40 points. Close games. Yep. Okay, right here. Duke was up by 19. So I just that it I call me crazy. I just think it's freaking crazy that I threw that out there because Illinois has been running teams over since the like for a majority of the tournament. I mean, even against Houston. Let me double check. I can't remember. Largest lead was 18 points. Yeah, I'm. That's why I made that statement of yeah. I don't see Duke or Uconn either of them taking a lead by 18 points. And what does Duke do in this exact game? They go up 19. I did not see that coming. And that whoa, hello, that's pretty loud. Let me turn that down. Whoa, is my hair out? Oh gosh, you know you probably damn it. You probably didn't hear because I had the volume down. Oh well. Oh well. Sorry, people. Sorry. Sometimes I gotta mess with the audio and make sure the audio is not too loud, drowning me out. But yeah, yeah. That the in the previous stream at the beginning of it when I was talking a little bit about the Illinois and then flipped over to talk about Duke and Uconn. I talked about how Houston and Illinois, when they played each other, Illinois at one point in that game was up by 18. And then I made the statement that I don't think Duke or Uconn, with how close these two teams have played their opponents throughout the tournament and how evenly stacked they are, I didn't think either team would go by 18. And then fast forward 24 hours, what did Duke do? They went up by 19. And they blew it. They freaking blew it. Because that's the other thing, too, is I I don't know. I'm gonna say right now. I bet if you ask Twitter and all that, I bet John Schneider's name's gonna be on the chopping block for a little bit with Duke, where it's like, should he get fired? Is blowing a 19-point lead in the regional final a fireable offense? yes, but how can I think right now where Duke is kind of where Ohio State was with Ryan Day. The start to his career and his coaching tenure at Duke has been very successful, and you cannot overlook it. And to overact, and because for all Duke knows, this could have been the game that sparked UConn's run, where yeah, UConn wins their third championship in the last 4 years. Where because of this game, Duke then goes plays in the Final Four against Illinois. They handle Illinois, and then they play Michigan, and then they handle business against Michigan. Because this tournament, and I've said it. Go watch some of like the only other stacked, you know, yeah, maybe the West. No, the South. The South was pretty close. But like the only other region in the bracket was the South. Because like there were 6 legit contenders who could win a title in this. And UConn's already gone through the gauntlet of this and what this side of the bracket was. Going through Michigan State, going through UCLA, going through Duke. You can't look at Illinois' resume is not the same. Illinois, their big credit win, I'll give them, is the Houston one. Michigan's big credit win that I'll give to them. I mean, I don't even. Maybe Bama, maybe. Like, I don't even know because they're. This is almost a 20-point win. This is. Like, they've blown everybody out and they haven't played anybody close. Arizona, I'll give them credit for the Purdue win and the Arkansas win. Like, these are 2 legit wins. But, I don't know. So, maybe it would be Arizona, UConn. Just, well, no. I'm still sitting with Michigan. I'm still sitting by Michigan. So, anyways. All right, people. We can end the stream there. I just wanted to get on here real quick and yap about what we just saw because that was a freaking cool game, and needed to wrap up and give my post-game reaction to all of the Elite Eights. If you guys missed it, Illinois beat Iowa soundly the other day. Iowa came out hot. They were leading at halftime. Illinois chipped away at the lead, and if I'm not mistaken, did Purdue have a lead? Purdue did have a lead as well. So I'm already seeing a trend too where no lead is safe because Duke was up, Purdue was up, Iowa was up, and all 3 of those teams lost. Ain't that something? Ain't that freaking something? So even if Arizona goes up by 4 or Michigan's up by 6, I still think both teams could fight back. Man, we will just have to see. So anyways, that was a very entertaining game. I think Duke UConn, this was probably the best game of the tournament, arguably. I'm trying to see if there were any other games that were. This was a good game. This was a phenomenal game. Trying to see if there's any other. Probably just those 2. Anyways, all right, people. All right, let me end the stream here. But I thank you guys for hanging out. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. With how the Final Four is set, yeah, give me UConn and Michigan in the final. I'm sticking by the, hey, whoever comes out of the East is probably going to win it all. Still going to sit by that. It shocks me. That was a crazy freaking game. That was an insane game. And it just kind of shows, like, something was bound to give, too, because I think, so they won by 1 point, obviously on the crucial 3 bucket, but could you imagine how much more of a blowout this game would have been? And I think that's what kind of, while also sort of lean towards UConn a little bit more than Illinois, is all UConn's buckets, like 4 of the 5 that they made in the whole game, and they shot like 30-something 3-pointers. or whatever. But of the 5 that they made, 4 of them were in the second half, and 3 of them were like within the last minute. Caravans, Muellers, and then can't remember the other one. But so, could you imagine how much more of a blowout this would have been if Uconn made 8, 9, 10 of the, or at least made 40% of their threes? This game would have been an absolute blowout, and Uconn would have rolled Duke. So I don't know. I don't know. Duke just showed they were very beatable all tournament, and there's kind of, whether it's Bama, whether it's Kansas, whether it's Gonzaga, Baylor, Duke, Auburn, the number one overall team. When you're the number one overall team, it's kind of like, ooh, okay, who gets to knock off the champ? And I think the regular season champ, because that's why they end up being the number one. The other thing too, on why I wouldn't necessarily fire Coach Schneider too if I was a Duke fan, even though he's probably going to get dragged for this loss. It, not only with how successful he's been and how many ACC championships he has at the start of his career, there's that. But I think what we witnessed today with UConn's toughness and resilience and their win in this comeback is the difference, I would say, between Coach Hurley and everybody else. We'll see with Coach May. I'm still interested to see verdicts out a little bit still with Coach May. Even though, for hell's sakes, he got Florida Atlantic to the Final Four, so it's kind of like, okay, maybe he is that dog, when it comes to like coaching and getting the players ready. But you look at Coach Izzo's teams, you look at who are some other legendary coaches kind of lately? What's Purdue's head coach name? I can't remember. Like, you look at Purdue, you look at UCLA, you look at Michigan State, you look at Gonzaga, you look at Krzyzewski, even in his last season. For hell's sakes, he got to the Final Four. But Villanova's coach, Rick Pitino with St. John's, any of the SEC head coaches, except for Golden, because Golden literally just won it with Florida. We got to give him credit. Kentucky, and all these other blue bloods that we want to call blue bloods. This is what the big difference between those teams and how they're coached versus Hurley's. There's parts of me that think if Michigan State was down by 19 against Duke, they're rolling over and they're just kind of, okay. And maybe they can cut it down to 10 and they lose by 10. But I'm thinking, let's see how much St. John's was down by. Let me try to confirm this. Largest lead, 7 points. Oh, okay. So St. John's only got down by 7. Okay, let me see. Purdue. Arizona's lead was 18. Shit. 18, and they still ended up losing by 14. No. 64, 74, 15. Yeah. So, again, Purdue gets down by 18. They roll over. They lose by 15. Like, I just, yeah. Yeah, because you look at what happened with Gonzaga and Texas. They were crawling back into it, but it was never, yeah. UCLA, Houston, Tennessee, Bama, definitely Bama. Any of these other teams, if they were down by 9, excluding VCU, I'll exclude VCU from this, but kind of with an asterisk because it's kind of different, and But any other team, they go down by 19 against Duke. Okay, maybe Siena as well, even though Siena was blowing Duke out. I don't see him coming back, and I don't see him fighting to try to recoup the losses and get a win, because TCU was holding Duke in place, and then there was a huge swing, like a little bit after the goaltending, but like that 9-point deficit ballooned right after, in the second half with the fouls and stuff. So I don't know. No, that's a hot take, kind of a stretch to say that, because every team's very different. Every team's wired differently, but it's hard for me, you know, because like we just saw it. We saw it with proof that, you know, Uconn, this game was over, and they showed, nope, we're not done. And the other thing too, I'll end with this, is I don't know what made, maybe this Duke team was number one overall, A, because they won the ACC, B, because of like the standings overall, but like I think you take last year's Duke team and put it up against this year's Duke team, I think Cooper Flagg's squad takes it. You know what I mean? And so I kind of, like, I really think if Duke was going to win it one year, I think last year would have been the year. I know that sounds crazy. I mean, they blew it against Houston and they lost in a gut-wrenching way that way. But I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna have to watch the highlights again. Maybe make a little bit of a better video, a little bit more concise. That sounds a little bit more right here. This is the play that started that snowball, because it was definitely a snowball type of game too, because all things considered. But all right, let me go look at something real quick. Liar. Freaking liar. Alright, let's see if we got anything. Let's go around the horn real quick. Got some basketball games ending. Oh yeah, I forgot about this tip-off. This tip-off in the middle of the night, if you're over on the East Coast between the Nuggets and Warriors. Let's look at the hockey. I think hockey had like 3 games today. Oh, the Rangers winning at home, huh? That's a shock. And Stars and Flyers are live right now. Oh, I could probably tune into one of these two. Anyways. Alright, people. We're going to end the stream here, though. I thank you guys for hanging out with me. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I have a couple videos out right now if you guys want to go check those out. But yeah, we're going to end the stream here. And I'll catch you guys. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, I know. I just had to double check. That I didn't end the screen. But, all right, guys, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.